children, and maybe some parents, maybe even some grandparents. My name is Joan Dukes, Joni Baloney of Arizona. I'm a volunteer here at the Highland Center for Natural History. So welcome to Arthropalooza 2020, unlike any Arthropalooza we've ever had before. I'm wondering, why in the world am I wearing a bat hat when this Arthropalooza is all about bugs? Ha! What do bats like to eat? Lots of, hundreds and thousands of bugs. Maybe some spiders too, but lots of insects and bugs. So I know Arthropalooza is a bat's favorite festival at the Highland Center. Now I've got a question. How many of you like mysterious boxes and riddles? Riddles tell you, they give you clues about what something might be. So I'm going to give you some clues, give you a riddle about what might be inside of our mysterious black box. First clue, what animal, and remember, birds, fishes, spiders, insects are all animals. They're not mammals, but they're all in the animal kingdom. So are we. So what animal spends most of its life under the ground? And then at the very end of its life, it comes out, has wings, and lives in the treetops. Only for a few moments of its life does it crawl or walk on top of the ground like we do. That's your first clue. So this animal has a long, slender tongue, like a straw. And it uses that tongue, it can pierce all the way through a piece of bark on a twig. It can pierce through, and then it makes little tiny holes where it sucks out the sap. It needs a lot of moisture because this animal is out when it's very hot in the middle of the day. And obviously, it would dry up if it didn't have a lot of liquid. Let's see. You still need another clue? Ah, I've got it. It's got 6 legs. 6 legs on this animal. And beautiful green wings. When it first comes out, it's got beautiful green wings. Kind of like the grass after a summer storm, a beautiful rainstorm. Oh, and some people even think those wings are as beautiful as those on a fairy. Okay, da-da-da-da-da-da, we are going to see if you guessed what was going to be in the mystery box. Can you find it? What do you see? Where is it? Oh, it's all the way over on the back side. I'll turn it around. Beautiful green wings, 6 feet and 6 legs, and big bug eyes. Okay, so let's talk about the legs on the cicada. How many did we say it had? 6, right? Let's compare it to another animal. I'll bet most of you know what this one is, an upside-down spider. Let's count the legs on this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 legs on a spider. And now, if you look very carefully, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 legs on cicada. Well, that's a definitely clear difference between all the insects and the other animals. Insects have 6. Okay, now I've got a mystery, another mystery, underneath this green cup. And I'll bet some of you have already seen these clinging to a tree. Ready? Here we go. Whoa. What in the world are these? Very lightweight. Very lightweight. What do you think they are? You think it's alive? No, not alive. Is it dead? Well, yeah, but it's not the whole insect. Do you see where something crawled out of it? Look at the split all the way down the back there. Something crawled out of this. It's called a cast, or the skin. And let's see how many legs it's got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 legs. Now, if we look very closely, oh boy, this is hard to see on here, but if you look very closely between the front legs, maybe I can pull the legs apart. There. Now, can you see the proboscis? That's the tongue, the proboscis, that long straw-like tongue that only sucks juices out of the plants. Not good for corn on the cob, but great for smoothies. Okay, now we're looking at the profile, the side of this cast, this skin, and here's something interesting. Do you see this shape right here? What do you think was stuffed into that little pocket? And let's see if there's one on the other side. Yep, there's another one on the other side. What do you think was stuffed into that pocket? Any ideas? Did I hear somebody say wings? Ah, that's a really good guess. I'll show you some photographs and see if you're right. Many years ago, I was lucky enough to see a cicada nymph, that's what they're called when they're young, actually split out of its skin, its cast, and become an adult. And I took pictures of it. So I'm going to show you right now. Some of you may be lucky enough. I was probably 65 before I got to see that. I hope you get to see that before you're 65. First, what happens, of course, it has to split that cast open, and I'm not quite sure, it probably pumps its body up so much that it splits it. And then it's standing, it's standing upright in the cast. And then watch what happens with the wings. They go from these folded up little wings all crunched into that pocket that you saw in the cast, and it starts pumping fluid into the wings more and more and more until those wings are beautifully outstretched. In the next picture of the cicada from underneath, if you look between the top legs, the front legs, you'll see that long, slender, straw-like tongue called the proboscis. Can you say that word? Proboscis. Proboscis are great at probing. They can actually poke a hole in a stick and suck out the sap. So imagine now for a minute that you are a cicada coming out of your cast. Do you think it's a pretty dangerous time for a cicada? You can't climb, you cannot fly yet. You can't even climb anymore because your legs are still partly inside that cast. It is a scary time. Lots of things might want to eat you, like a bird especially. Probably not bats, because when are bats out? Yep. They're out at night. When are cicadas out? In the heat of the day. So they are definitely safe from bats, I think, but not the birds. So now, and maybe even some mammals like to grab them. Maybe a raccoon in a tree would grab one. So now in the next picture, you'll see the cicada totally out of its cast. You'll see that beautiful green wing and that big eye. And in the last picture taken from the top, you see those emerald green wings that I think some people might say they look like a fairy's wing. So beautiful and green. Unfortunately, they don't stay that way. But if you're lucky enough to see one when it's very young and just coming out of the cast, you'll see that color. So the cicada is out of its skin now, it's cast. What does it do next? Well, if it's a boy, if it's a male cicada, up in the trees, he starts to sing his cicada love song. How many of you have ever heard the cicada love song in the middle of the summer? It sounds like this. Let's all do it together and see how loud we can make it. Beautiful. That was much better. And why are they making this noise, which they think is beautiful? Because, a couple reasons. They're trying to attract the females. They want to get a girlfriend. And they're trying to attract more boys so they can make more noise, so they can attract more girls to their tree. Pretty clever, isn't it? Now, does everyone like that sound? Some people do. I know a man who planted a tree in his yard that would attract the cicadas because he loved it so much. But a lot of people don't. Also, the birds don't like it. And how does that help the cicadas? Keeps away the birds that eat the cicadas. Pretty clever. Have you ever noticed that cicadas don't start singing until it's pretty warm outside, even hot? In fact, they can't sing when it's less than 65 degrees, and they really prefer it to be hot. So think about that for a minute. How do they keep from drying out, from getting desiccated? Very clever their bodies are. They can sweat. Many species of cicadas that live in the desert can sweat. The only insect that can do that. They take in all that fluid from the sap of the, especially the elm trees, and then through little tiny holes in their body, it comes out and it helps cool them off. Just like when we sweat, do you notice how when your forehead sweats, it feels kind of cool when the air dries it out? That's exactly what's happening with the cicadas. An amazing fact that many people don't know. So how does it help a cicada to be active during the heat of the day? Think about that. We've already mentioned the bats. When are bats out? At night. So they aren't going to get eaten by bats if they're out in the day. And what about birds? Do you notice how birds are more active in the morning and in the evening? So they are definitely more protected from the bird predators. Very clever that they could survive being out in that heat of the day. Okay, so I've got a couple questions I'm going to ask you. And if you can answer them, you will be an official Cicada Club member. First question, is a cicada a spider or an insect? How many legs does a spider have? How many legs does an insect have? If you said cicadas are insects, you're right. What does a cicada mouth, proboscis, look like? Well, we saw that in the picture, didn't we? That long straw. And why do all cicadas shed their skin, that cast that they were in? Because they grew. They got too big for their skin. What is the only insect that sweats? Well, I hope you all said cicada to that one. And why do the males, the boy cicadas, sing? To attract the girls, to attract more boys to sing louder, and to repel the birds, the predators. And finally, do you remember what a cicada song sounds like? You are all now official members of the Cicada Club. Now that you're all members of the Cicada Club, I'd like to invite you to go outside and see how many signs of cicadas you can find. What's the easiest one to find? Not with your eyes, but with your ears. See if you can find where they're living with your ears. Once you know they're there, because you can hear them, start looking for signs, such as the casts. Remember those little casts we looked at? They're oftentimes found clinging to a tree where the cicada came out of its skin. So another great sign to find is a dead cicada. Might be lying on the ground. If it's got a lot of ants on it, especially red ants, I wouldn't pick it up. But if it doesn't have any ants on it, I would invite you to pick it up so you can see if you can find some of the parts we talked about. The proboscis, how many legs, those wonderful big eyes, those little, those big wings. And if you really want to learn some details, if you look at this one, it's got these little plates underneath the legs there. That's where the male makes its song. Those plates help the abdomen make that clicking sound. So anyway, that helps you find a difference between a male and a female. Now, if you're really, really lucky, you will get to find a live cicada. And if you do, I would please ask you, if you want to take it home, don't leave it in a cage for longer than a couple hours. They get very stressed. They've got to keep that fluid coming into their bodies to survive. So keep it for an hour, maybe an hour and a half, so you can observe it and watch what it does, and then make sure to release it back where you found it, so that we know it will have food. Okay, is that a deal? Release it, catch and release it's called. Thank you for making that deal with me. Now, once you've found your signs, it would be wonderful if you could take a picture or maybe even a little video of the sign that you found, and then send it to the Highland Center at the email address you're going to see right now on the screen. And then we'll take all your photos and videos, put them together, and make a grand film of the Cicada Club members' video and share it with all of you. And that's the part that excites me, because I get to see what you have discovered. And I forgot to mention one thing. When is the best time to look for a live cicada? Is it early morning, late morning, evening, nighttime? Well, I'll tell you what, yesterday I went out looking in the afternoon for a live cicada to show you today, and I couldn't find a single one. I found a lot of ants on the trails, probably looking for dead cicadas to eat, but I didn't find a single cicada. However, I have some friends, Joe and Paul Glaves, who went out this morning, and they said the ants were not as active yet. That's when they found the live cicadas. They emerged and they crawled over to a tree, then they crawled up the tree and emerged from their cast. So that's the best time to look, is in the morning when they have come out of the ground. I found mine in Granite Creek Park because there are a lot of elm trees there, and they really like the sap of the elm trees. So that's a good place to start if you're wanting some suggestions. I really, really hope some of you get to find a live cicada and get to hold it in your own hands and feel the little feet tickling you. It's such a special feeling. I feel tickling, 6 feet tickling me, but nothing hurts. This little critter cannot bite or sting. He or she, I don't know if it's a boy or girl, all she wants to do is fly away, and she may do that. There she is. Isn't she beautiful? Look at the color of her wings now. And she's kind of testing the territory here. See her front feet touching out, reaching out, trying to figure out what kind of vegetation is this? Where is the stick I want to suck juice from? This doesn't feel like a stick. She's probably a little confused. And look at her big eyes. Very big eyes. Yeah. What else do you notice? I don't want to tip her upside down. I don't think she would care for that. That might be a little scary. I hope some of you will be brave enough to hold a cicada this summer. And oh, there she goes!
Thank you for attending Day 7 of Arthropalooza Week. We hoped you learned something and had a lot of fun. We'd love to see your cicadas or anything relating to cicadas you have seen this summer. Please send images or videos to enixon@highlandcenter.org to be featured on our website and Facebook page. If you enjoyed this video, please consider donating or becoming a Highland Center member. I'll see you tomorrow for Day 8.